Tu Tien bought vegetable seeds on the way home. She got off the car at the market without asking. Jack just said, "Let me off here," and walked to the nearest seed stall and bought long beans and water spinach and 2 packets of something she tucked into her bag without showing him. She was back in the car in 4 minutes. She did not explain. Jack did not ask. He already knew. The seeds were not for their farm. Their farm had long beans. Their farm had water spinach. Tu Tien had planted both herself in March and knew exactly where each row was. The seeds were for his mother's garden in the village. For the plot behind Aunt Than's house where the bananas were almost ready and the corn had just been harvested and there was good soil left over with nothing in it yet. Tu Tien had noticed the empty soil 2 days ago. She had not said anything. She had simply bought seeds on the way home. This was the thing about Tu Tien that Jack had never been able to explain to anyone she did not love loudly. She loved in the specific language of noticing what was missing and quietly filling it. They had been in the village for 2 days. 2 days of bamboo bridges that were now concrete, of uncles who had watched Jack grow up and now looked at Tu Tien with the particular approval of people who had been waiting for someone like her to appear. 2 days of Aunt Than's kitchen, of corn boiled over a wood fire, of a table that kept getting more crowded, because someone always called someone else, who called someone else, until the meal was 8 people, and nobody had planned for 8 people, and everyone ate anyway. His mother had been happy, not the careful happiness she performed for Jack when she thought he was worried about her, the real kind, the kind that comes out in the middle of a sentence about something else, in the way she laughed at Uncle Ha's story about the bamboo bridge, in the way she touched Tu Tien's arm when she thought no one was looking. Jack had been watching his mother be happy for 2 days and had not said what he was thinking. What he was thinking was, she should stay, not forever, not permanently, but for now, for this season, for this particular stretch of her life when the farm was being built and Let's story was still unfolding and the locked box had been opened and the marriage contract had been signed. She should stay here where her siblings were. And the soil was familiar, and she could sit by a koi pond every afternoon and not worry about whether her son was sleeping enough. He had not said this because it was not the kind of thing he could say without it meaning more than he meant. And he had not wanted the last morning to be about what he meant. The last morning was about Bup. Aunt Than had gone to the garden before breakfast and come back with her arms full, and then Tu Tien had gone with Jack to pick more, and they had walked between the rows in the early heat. And Jack had pointed out where he used to play as a child. And Tu Tien had listened the way she listened to everything completely, without interrupting, filing it away in the place where she kept the things that mattered. "You herded buffalo here?" she said. "From when I was 8 until I was 12. Aunt Than's family had 3. Where did you take them?" "Down the hill, along the stream. There was a flat area where the grass grew thick." He paused. "I used to fall asleep there sometimes. In the afternoon, the buffalo knew the way home." Tu Tien looked at him. "You fell asleep in a field and trusted the buffalo to bring themselves home. They always did. That is either very smart or very lucky." "It was 12 years old," Jack said. "It was both." She laughed. He had not heard her laugh like that in weeks, unguarded, surprised, the laugh that comes out before you decide to let it. He had forgotten how much he needed to hear it. They filled the basket and walked back up the hill in the morning heat, and Jack carried the basket because Tu Tien's hands were full of the ones that had not fit, and they walked in comfortable silence past the banana grove and through the garden gate and back into the house where his mother was already at the stove, helping Aunt Than with something that smelled of ginger and river fish. "You're back," his mother said. She did not look up. She could tell by the footsteps. "We got the big ones," Tu Tien said. "Good. Wash your hands. We're almost ready." The meal was the kind of meal that country aunts make when they know it is the last one for a while. Too many dishes. Everything from the garden. The corn boiled and still steaming in the center of the table. Chicken that Aunt Than had been saving. Rice that smelled different from city rice, denser, warmer, the smell of a particular variety grown in a particular valley. Jack's mother sat across from him and ate slowly and talked about the vegetable garden and about Uncle Haz's new kitchen extension and about the child who had been too busy with his phone to eat dinner, the one who was over 2 years old and thin because he refused food and whose parents despaired of him in the laughing way of parents who are not actually worried. She did not talk about coming home. Nobody brought it up. They had agreed without saying so that the last meal was not the place for that conversation. Afterward, Uncle and Aunt walked them to the road. "Next time, stay longer," Aunt Than said. She said it to Jack, but she was looking at Tu Tien. "Next time we will," Tu Tien said. "And the wedding when I said a month's notice." "1 month, Auntie, I promise." The car came. Jack put the bag in the trunk. Tu Tien got in. Jack turned back to his mother. Mrs. Ly was standing at the edge of the road in her good blouse, the lime green one with the flower brooch. She had put it on that morning without explanation, the way she put on the things that mattered when she wanted to mark an occasion without making a fuss. "Mom, go," she said. "You have work. Are you all right here?" She looked at him the way mothers look at their children when the question has an answer they have already given many times and will give many more. "I am better than all right," she said. "I am home." He nodded. He wanted to say something more. He could not find the shape of it. She reached up and straightened his collar. One quick motion. The thing she had done since he was small, when he was leaving for school, when he left for the city, when he left after every visit for the past 4 years. He got in the car. The road home was 2.5 hours. Tu Tien had the seed packets in her lap. She was looking out the window at the rice fields going past green, flat, already familiar to her now, the way a place becomes familiar when you have walked it and eaten at its tables and laughed in its gardens. "She's not lonely there," Tu Tien said. She said it quietly, the way you say something that you have been turning over for a while and have finally decided is true. "No," Jack said. "She's happy." "Yes, you knew she would be." He did not answer immediately. Outside, a water buffalo stood in a paddy field, watching the car pass. Jack thought about a 12-year-old boy falling asleep in a field and trusting the buffalo to know the way home. "I hoped," he said. Tu Tien turned from the window. She looked at him. "Jack," she said. "Yes." When Bak Dung finishes the house, when everything settles, when Ly is on her feet and the farm is running and the house on the hill has a kitchen that faces the morning light, she paused. "What do you want? Not for anyone else. For you." The car moved through the afternoon light. The rice fields opened on both sides. The road was straight and long. Jack had not been asked that question in a very long time. He was not sure he remembered how to answer it. "Ask me again in 6 months," he said. Tu Tien was quiet for a moment. "Okay," she said. She turned back to the window. Her hand rested on the seed packets in her lap. Long beans, water spinach, something she hadn't shown him. "What's the 3rd packet?" Jack asked. Tu Tien looked down at her lap. She picked up the 3rd packet and turned it over. A small smile crossed her face, the private kind, the one she did not perform for anyone. "Frangipani," she said, "for your mother's garden." Jack looked at the road ahead. He did not say anything. He did not need to. But in his pocket, his phone was still there. The message from H still unanswered. The 6 words he had sent, "Tell me," were still sitting unread. And now, 2 hours into a road that still had 30 minutes left, H had finally replied. Jack felt the vibration. He did not take out the phone. He drove. The frangipani seeds were in Tu Tien's lap. His mother was home. Some answers could wait 30 more minutes.